Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fueled by Progress, hosted by me, Mark Joseph Szymanski. We have today in MJS Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Came on a plane. We've hung out. We're going to talk all about it. CT Kaupp.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for coming. It's been a great 24 hours. Wrapping up, we've done a lot of stuff. We're going to chat all about it. But I want to for longtime listeners of the show. CT's been on before. CT was on probably February, March. We're now into August, almost September here of 2021. And I want to give CT the opportunity here to kind of reintroduce himself, the stuff that he has going on, because we want to take that and we want to talk about all sorts of stuff and like kind of how our, connection together has continued to transpire over that time. We've talked a lot about different things and business opportunities, life things, all that sort of stuff. And just want to kick it over to you, man. How have things been? Tell people again kind of who you are and what you got going on, and we'll roll from there.
Yeah, so I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, like Mark said. Started my own business 4 years ago. Create websites, manage them, secure them, support them, host them, the whole bit. Have about 20 recurring clients right now. Want to work that up to about 40 to 50. Have the podcast, Business In Boardshorts, Feel a Call into the Ocean, love entrepreneurship. So marrying the two, talking to businesses, entrepreneurs, people that are into the growth mindset, that are near the water, essentially. It could be ocean, rivers, lakes, whatever it might be. At the beginning, I would say I was focused more on the ocean side of it, and I've kind of opened it up to really any body of water so that I'm not crazy niche down in that sense. So I'm enjoying the heck out of it. We're at episode 36 that I need to promote here in about 45 minutes. But then, just keep that going. And those are the main things that I have going on.
Nice. I love it, man. You touched on it there already. You got a lot of stuff going on, as we all do. And you have a fellow podcast, Business In Boardshorts, that we just recorded a couple episodes for. You guys will hear shortly here in a few weeks. I love it because I want to kick it back to, we mentioned this in one of the B&B podcasts. You eloquently described how we kind of met and like how our connection formed there. Want to like kind of go back and kind of talk about that, because I think it's interesting, because I think a lot of people don't realize how you can make connections in the world today, and they could just, and they're not just like, like random comments on Facebook or Facebook or tweets back and forth with strangers. They can actually form into more things that are, people, two like-minded people can come together. They could work together, or they could just share ideas and stuff like that. So you did it best in the other episode. So like, how did we kind of meet? How was that initially formed? And we can kind of continue from there.
I was searching for some videos on YouTube. You came up. Watched a couple of them, and I was just like, I like this guy's vibe. It just seemed genuine. He seemed like we had the same mindset. I don't have Twitter, so I reached out. I thought LinkedIn would be the best platform. I guess maybe I could have done Instagram too. But I just said, hey, I want to jump on there and send you a request. And I think we connected that night. And if I remember correctly, I think we talked the next day. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, it was like you're inside my mind, vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so everything that I thought, the vibe that I was getting was true. And then if we fast forward a couple months, we've talked pretty regularly. And then I'm a huge fan, or have seen Pittsburgh Pirates PNC Park. Mm. So the Pirates Stadium, I've seen that from afar for many years, and it was always been on the bucket list that I wanted to check it out in person. And so I put the two and two together, and I said, well, Mark, why don't I come out and we'll catch a Pirates game? So that's what we did. Yep. And I'm loving it. And hey, you're a great chauffeur picking me up from the airport, and felt like a celebrity. It was very nice.
Yeah, through the Kaupp sign right in the window there. I'm sure CT will have a picture of that at some point. Yeah, that's I just think it's kind of cool. Like I might sound like weird to some by like kind of pointing those things out, but I think it's awesome how when you have a feeling or something, or you just reach out to somebody, it doesn't need to be some sort of crazy, divine, like, oh, something happened to me and like I just needed to talk to somebody. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter like where they're at or whatever. If you want to reach out to somebody and build a connection, the worst they could say is no. I mean, and if they do, we've talked about that in the past as well. If they say no and they don't want to, and they don't want to talk to you and they don't want to connect with new people, then okay, that's fine. Respect that. But a lot of people will be more than happy, I think, to talk about themselves, right? We talked a lot about over the past day here, Business in Boardshorts, because I've been picking your brain about how you've gotten guests for that and how you've connected with so many people, increased your sphere, got into other networks of people and stuff like that. People love to talk about themselves and people love to connect with other people. And I think most people like to share ideas and share knowledge and experiences. And I think that that's awesome when you take a step back, you realize how those connections are formed. And it's just like silly ways normally, just like reaching out on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever because of this, that, or the other thing. And you can form a solid connection between somebody that is a like-minded individual that is actually, for us, in our case, in the same industry, like in web design and stuff like that. So you have a lot of the same like highs and lows, like pain points and different things like that you can work around. I can't tell you, our listeners, how many times we've talked on the phone or on Zoom or exchanged messages about like different things, our business process. And I just really enjoy that, really making those connections. And I always like to call on how it actually starts, because that's always the weird thing. It's like, oh, people are like, oh, I know this guy from college or school or that. It's like, no, not really. I mean, like we live in a day and age where our parents, I think, would probably be like, you met somebody on the internet, and I literally got that. Like you met somebody on the internet and they're coming to go to a Pirates game with you. That's a little weird, isn't it? Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but like, I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like not, it's not, it's just a different time now. And I think it's really awesome. I think there's a lot of positives to it. So that's just kind of my thing.
Yeah, and I'm all about building the relationship. So
yeah.
That's first and foremost to me. The deep relationship that you can build in the 15-minute podcast episode, which is what mine generally are, it's insane. Just talking to somebody, I don't know them from Adam. I'm reaching out with a cold email, very quick and to the point. And like you stated, it's really just about telling their story, sharing their experience, their expertise, whatever field it might be in. And who wouldn't want to jump on? The 15-minute mark is intentional because everybody has 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Anything more than that, it can feel a little bit more daunting. So 15 is a good sweet spot. And I would say 90% of the guests that I have had on were from completely cold outreach. So a lot of people say cold outreach is dead, and I believe that for the most part. Mm-hmm. But in this particular case, I think it still works in certain cases, and in this one, it definitely has rung true. So I just reach out to a bunch of people. I can find from all over, Portland, Maine, to a bunch of places in Florida, to the coast, like Gulf Coast in Texas, to California. And I think Oregon too. Like, I mean, just anywhere and everywhere. I think it's been like 17, 18 states I've had guests on. Sorry. Yeah. So that, I love that. I love getting the variety and hearing what the vibe's like here versus there. People that have lived on the East Coast versus the West Coast. And I love learning. So it kind of encompasses everything. And on top of it all, it's building my tribe of like-minded people. And it doesn't matter what kind of business they're building or have built, we share that similar mindset to keep growing.
Mm-hmm. Totally, man. Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because the types of people that we are, right, we're trying to be out there, we're trying to market ourselves, market our businesses and things like that. We had several solid conversations about different topics. One of the ones that I know we wanted to hit on though was like social media and the idea of social media. And you said something interesting during our time here in Pittsburgh, and you said that in like 5 years you don't see yourself on social media. So, and I kind of like, was understood that, but was taken aback a little bit. And we started the conversation, and I think we should continue to have that a little bit, because that's a pretty important, it's a pretty interesting claim, but it's a pretty important thing to unpack. So I'll start off with the question, like, why do you see yourself not on social media or not like out there in 5 years or so? Yeah.
So let's back it up one step. Is you were talking about doing like a Gary Vee style, like video,
yes.
Thing.
Yes. Quite two opposites there.
Yeah. So you're explaining that, and I get it. I've watched enough Gary Vee to know exactly what you're talking about. And so I felt it was a great opportunity to tell you, like, hey, I'm the complete opposite. And there's nothing wrong with either of you. I just know that the amount of time and the amount of energy that people consume on social media and then like let that seep into their lives is a lot more than I think it should be. So I'd rather just be able to be present with everybody that is important to me and not be focused on that kind of space. There's a lot of positives. Like us, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for YouTube or LinkedIn. So that's awesome. But just from like my time and energy standpoint, I don't want to be putting it into that area. I do feel compelled to be on it from the business sense, to be able to just have a presence, to be top of mind, to put out content. I like LinkedIn the best because it has that business foundation, that business background, versus like we've talked about earlier today, that the other platforms seem more, hey, look at me, here's my life, here's my highlights. And then that's what everybody shows. And I'm just very intuitive, so I can see right through that kind of BS. And so I want to associate myself with genuine and authentic people. And when I see, 90% of the stuff on social media is just a bunch of garbage and people just throwing out highlights, that's just like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that definitely different platforms have different audiences in a sense, or different like backgrounds, obviously, or like foundations. LinkedIn, you would say, is definitely more business. Facebook has become kind of a swamp in a lot of different areas, just because like so many people are on there. That's tough when you have like just a platform with billions. But I think that we started talking about this off camera, and I wanted to take it because it was like I was beginning to say, I think it's like a two-pronged thing. So if we talk about social media as like a whole subject, I feel that there's two ways to look at it. One is like the people, the users, and one is the platforms. And the people, that actually I feel is easier to deal with, because if you don't like somebody, or if somebody's spewing like hate, negativity, whatever, you could just block them, or you could not friend them, you not look at their stuff, whatever. So that's one thing. Generally I've found, and I've done this recently, is I've found myself scrolling before, and I've found myself not liking the content that was on it. It's not really where I want to be going or what I want to be seeing or whatever. So I try to curate my feeds as much as possible to something that's productive or positive. So that's one way. I kind of feel like that's kind of solving that issue. The other issue, though, is much harder, quite frankly, much more concerning. It's the platform. We don't need to dive too much into it, but the idea that you mentioned that you haven't talked to this person or been on Facebook in a while, and you get a notification saying that like they posted a photo like randomly, and it's because they're trying to pull you back in to the platform.
Yeah. So I was telling Mark that I hadn't been on Facebook for months, but it's still on my phone. The app's still downloaded. And so in the last, couple months, I would just get push notifications for a couple particular people out of the blue. Hey, so-and-so just added a new video or added a new picture or whatever. And, yeah, that was where that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's definitely like ways to turn like notifications off and stuff, but the idea that is a thing, it seemingly doesn't have any meaning other than to get you to back on the platform, which that I'm not a fan of, because I would love Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that much more if there was a way to only use it to create rather than to view. I've definitely gotten value out of those platforms, entertainment, education, stuff like that. We send stuff back and forth occasionally, like good stuff that we see, mostly positive and like entrepreneurship and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, I feel that we would, at least me, I'd probably be even more productive if I wasn't ever in that scrolling method. If I wasn't ever even brought into that sphere. I have learned a good bit, but the positives and negatives, they definitely have counteracting forces there.
One thing I just thought of, and I should have said this in our previous episodes we just recorded. I think just like from a nutrition or a diet standpoint, people say, you are what you eat, and you can't, if you're into fitness, you can't, outrun a bad diet or whatever the cliche is. So I feel like from a media consumption standpoint, you are what you consume. So on Instagram recently, I just went through and like hardcore. It's not detox. I don't know the right word. Just like went through my followers or the people that I was following, and just like hardcore knocked it down by probably 70%. And so that what I was consuming was positive entrepreneurship, growth mindset, financial stuff, whatever it is. Like I wanted, if I'm going to pull it up, I want it to be something. And that's probably why I send you something every 3 seconds, because everything that I see then like is exactly the mindset that I want to be in.
Exactly. I will go one step further though. And I will say that that is, again, even in that, it has positives and negatives. I have another point to make about the negative thing, but like that in and of itself has positive and negatives, because there's an argument against everything, I guess. But like if you have a feed that you enjoy seeing, that it's almost counterintuitive, because then you might stay on it a little bit longer. Like I find myself doing that. On Instagram specifically, you scroll through and it shows all the new posts of the people that you follow. And then it has this stuff where it says like suggested, and it knows me. It knows like entrepreneurship, finance, stuff like that. So I'll have a video that's like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then I'll be like, oh, that was kind of, maybe dopamine or whatever. That was a nice video or whatever. Up next one, same bullshit. It's like, it's good, but you can't have too much of a good thing, I think, is the kind of the point there. The one other thing that I want to bring up though, because this started with like the idea of negativity, and being on social media, and that being a driving force for you to go away from it. What I think every creator should adopt should not be the highlight reel. Like they should have, their highs, but I would love to see their lows too. I appreciate it when people are transparent about that. It's not easy to post about your lows, but if you're in the idea of if you're under the idea and you take up and you adopt the concept of like documenting, I feel like it lends itself to more like highs and lows. So for instance, I think it was an anecdote and it was a story, but you just sent me something by, is his name Metzler? Dave Metzler?
Yeah, David Metzler.
Yeah, and it was a story of like how it started with him being bankrupt, or they were going bankrupt or something like that, and then he progressed through it and stuff. That, while it's much easier to say it on the back, on the back end, when you've came out of it, I think that if you're able to somehow talk about your bad days on your bad days, that is really powerful, because I try to do as much as I can. If you can talk about your bad days on your bad days, then I feel like your good days are, I don't know if you have more right to talk about them or whatever. That's not really the point. But like, I just feel like you should talk about both, because everyone has good and bad days. I don't care who you are, right? And I just feel like you're more relatable in that sense. If you talk about the highs and lows, rather than, like you said, the highlight reel is dangerous, because you don't see those other things and you just have this false sense of reality of what these people are.
Yeah, I'll go back. I don't think it's not necessarily the negativity is my main thing. It's the comparison. So everybody is just comparing themselves to everybody else, and I've done it. Mm-hmm. So it's just being aware of that, and that ends up sucking so much life, energy out of you in a negative way. That's like that. That's like what's killing society. Or we were kind of talking about that earlier.
Yeah. So it's tough, but I feel like if more people would adopt that, it would get slightly better. Trouble is, you can't really, control anyone other than yourself. So maybe that's a bit of advice. If you're going to do something, make sure that you're transparent and authentic about it, and be cognizant of that fact, because instead of it being like a competing, oh, this person is outdoing this person and trying to constantly compare, there's a little bit more, authenticity and stuff. I think that would do everybody a lot more good. But yeah, social media is a beast. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess, that we kind of need it for business purposes, and it's kind of the main way to market and different things nowadays. But I guess we'll just continue to do our best with all that. I kind of want to touch on. There's so much stuff that we've touched on within our time and our talks, conversations back and forth, and everything like that. What do you? Maybe the best way to kind of go about it though is with your business, your specific web design business and stuff like that. You talked a little bit about it in the BNB podcast that's going to be coming out, but the thing that drives you, right? You enjoy it, you love to do it, and stuff like that. The first question that I kind of have in that realm of business, productivity, and stuff like that is, I think we chatted a little bit about this too, and I wanted to bring it up, the productivity aspect of it. How do you stay productive? I look at you, and from conversations that we've had and and what I know about you, it seems like you work heavily, like all the time, and you're pretty regimented. Like you have certain times that you obviously need to promote the podcast stuff. You're always posting on LinkedIn. You're always doing projects for different people. You have recurring clients. Talk to me about Oh, and actually, one other thing, you said yesterday you didn't even know what day it was. So it's like you're working all the time, and that's awesome. I'm almost at that point where I don't know what day it is, but I want to get a better idea of what your day kind of looks like, but what your week to week looks like and everything like that, and like how much you really do kind of work. You also have to mention the thing about food, because that, like, the time saving.
We'll get to that. Okay, I don't have the answer, so I don't think I'm doing anything optimally in that way, but I'll kind of give you my 2 cents. One thing is, I've seen this talked about a lot, and I would love to get to the point where you're like batching days. So, Monday's my podcast day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is my meeting days, my work days or whatever, like hardcore, I'm doing my web stuff. I would love to be able to get a weekly, like a daily schedule that I would follow each week in that way. I'm not at that point. I've just never been able to get to that, but I would like to be able to, because then, this is like really early on, I had a meeting every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, one meeting each day, different times, whatever. And by the end of the week, I realized how drained I was. Versus if I just had all 5 meetings on one day, it was like, okay, then like that Tuesday is my meeting day, and just that's what I'm focused on. And then I can have the rest of the week to do my deep work and whatever I need to do. So that was like a sort of aha moment with that, but I haven't necessarily dialed it down to specific days or doing specific things. I know Pat Flynn, big podcaster, does, whatever, he batches it. And I guess from the podcast stuff that I've read and learned about, it just watched, the more you can batch, the better. And I've experienced that too. Like, hey, it's this Friday, Saturday, whatever, I'm batching I'm editing these 5 episodes. And just, so the more, I guess the moral of this is that the more you can batch, the more you can just dedicate, hey, these 3 hours I'm doing X, then to me, it's the more productive that I'll be, the easier I'll do it, the quicker I'll do it, versus if you spread it out over days. I love the fact that I never know what day it is. I don't have a significant other. I don't have kids. So yes, I have more flexibility and freedom in that way, but I know exactly the kind of lifestyle that I want to live. And so I'm extremely internally motivated to get there. And I know that putting the time now, I'll sacrifice the short-term gains for the long-term gain at the end. And so that's I know exactly where I'm going, and just laser focused on that. And it doesn't matter to me if it's Saturday at 3 p.m. or a Wednesday at 8 p.m., Friday at 8 a.m., like whatever it is. If my clients need me, I'm there. Obviously, life gets in the way. Stuff is planned. Like, I'm not throwing that aside on a weekend or whatever. I try to not necessarily do too much work on the weekends, but it just, if I feel the need, then I just go after it. I just like to be able to be in flow whenever I feel in that prime time to work, just get at it and get it done. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answered any of your questions.
No,
but.
No, yeah, definitely. I like I said, I'm always just trying to find ways to become more efficient and share that with others as well. And I just feel that it's a combination of process and also discipline, I guess. I mean, you gotta be disciplined, but if you're disciplined and you're not working smart in any sort of the sense, then, you're not going to be very well off. And if you have a process, but you're not disciplined to stick to it, then you're going to be in the same boat. So I definitely, I think it just, continues to come with time too. Depends on what you're doing, how you're doing it and all that. And you just got to keep moving forward in that regard.
On the other thing you wanted me to bring up.
Yeah.
So a weird quirk is, if you could just shoot me up with an IV and I never have to eat a meal for the rest of my life, I would do that.
Yeah.
And it's completely based on the time savings. I'm not saying I don't like some good food, but the amount of like mental space that it takes me to go, hey, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to, or meal prep, what am I going to meal prep? That takes away, like it just, what's the decision fatigue? Okay. Like you've heard that before?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a podcast with somebody that talked about a relative that was like in his 80s, that might've been some from Tim Ferriss, I believe, but not 100% sure. And it was like a relative that he knew that didn't look anything like 80 and was like super spry and just amazing. and he thinks that he eats like almost the same thing every single day. He's very, very routine, very, very regimented. And the amount of mental space that then opens up, and he doesn't have that decision fatigue because you're not making the 50, like all those decisions are already made. And so like if I'm working and I have food already prepped and all I have to do is heat it up, then I just know, okay, boom. All right. Like it's clockwork versus the whole, hey, what am I going to make? Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It just, for me personally, and I just don't like cooking. So, it takes up a lot of mental energy that way. And I like just being clear, boom, boom, boom. I'm all about the convenience. And that's just like every area of my life. I'll trade money for convenience.
Yeah. While I haven't ever really thought of that since you brought that up today, I empathize with that, and I probably would be on board with that as well. So if you ever have that opportunity, yeah, definitely pass that along. Let me know. I'd love to try that option because, yeah, decisions of where to eat, the stereotypical thing with your significant other, where are we going to eat? Yeah, that's painful. And the other thing too, it's almost right in line. I should have almost thought of it when you told me it a while back. Was I believe you said like if you could, you would just pay for a chauffeur rather than driving, because I would absolutely do that.
Yeah, I would do that. Personal chef, just make all my meals. Don't want to think about it. Personal trainer, just tell me what to do, and I'll just show up and do it. I can give 150% versus like if I'm just creating the program myself, I'll just slack off. I'm not gonna give it the total energy that it deserves, and just kind of pick and choose my spots. So I like having the trainer holds you accountable, and that to me it's all about the convenience and the efficiency and the time savings, and that's just something that when we talk 2 months, 5 months, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is down the road, like that's just something I'm gonna keep evolving because it's important to me.
Definitely, yeah. We'll definitely have to. Obviously, going to stay in touch off the air. Definitely going to have you on a bunch more times here as we continue to go through, because I see that being a mutual journey towards the top here, just continuing to progress and everything like that. We got to go. We got to go down to take a picture by the river to get a featured image for the podcasts here. CT's got to catch a flight, but I appreciate you coming on, man. Where can I'll have the links to everything in the show notes, but where can people find you if they'd like to learn more about you?
CTKaupp.com is my website, easiest spot right there. LinkedIn, just search CT Kaupp, and I'll throw up the Instagram handles for like the personal, the business, and the podcast. You can put that in the show notes.
Sweet. Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for coming through. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Fueled by Progress with my guest, CT Kaupp. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next one.